Hey everybody, it's Party Elite with another online battle today. In this one, I take the Warriors of Chaos into battle against Bretonnia, led by Cassius. Prince Sigvald leads my army with Auric Armor and Standard Die. The Chaos Sorcerer of Shadows rides in with Smoke and Mirrors, Arcane Conduit, and Pit of Shades. I wanted the extra speed from Smoke and Mirrors on the field to help shut down enemy cavalry, and I was expecting some infantry blobbing by my opponent, so Pit of Shades just made sense. Then, I've got 2 units of Aspiring Champions, accompanying 3 units of Chaos Warriors. Together, these guys would have little issue with most Bretonnian infantry, and the Forsaken would allow me to go around my opponent's lines and take care of peasant bowmen. The 3 units of Chaos Warriors with Halberds were a response to potential cavalry on the field, and I took some Chaos Warhounds with Poison alongside a Shaggoth to make quick work of isolated cavalry and chase down routing units. I think Bretonnia expected a double Shaggoth build. They come in with Alberic de Bordelot on horseback with Spirit of the Tempest, Foe Seeker, Deadly Onslaught, Heroic Killing Blow, and the Wrath of Manan. A Damsel of Heavens comes in with the Curse of the Midnight Wind and Arcane Conduit, while a Paladin rides in alongside Alberic. 4 units of Peasant Mob ranked up to rank 3 to counter their low leadership, and 4 units of Men-at-Arms with shields are probably hoping to hold the line against my army. Again, I think they were expecting a double Shaggoth build, which means their much larger infantry contingent would hold my infantry in place and get a decent surround quite easily. The Spearmen at Arms are brought in to deal with large, anti-large units, while the Grail Reliquae will try to support the front lines with a leadership boost and immunity to psychological threats of fear and terror. Some Mounted Yeomen ranked up to rank 9 are there to bulk up the cavalry contingent with the 2 units of Questing Knights and the 1 unit of Grail Guardians to ensure multiple hammers are available. Finally, the 2 Mounted Yeoman Archers will look to pepper in damage, harass me, and force me to chase them around. Alright, as always, we're going to start with a conversation about deployment, and it's relatively simple from both sides of the field, but Bretonnia does try something that can only be described as cheeky, really. So let's start with my Warriors of Chaos again. Pretty simple. Up front, we have all 3 units of Chaos Warriors, and right behind them, we have the Aspiring Champions on either flank, with Prince Sigvald himself in the center. Again, these guys are there to sort of engage the front lines and then push through with the Aspiring Champions and Sigvald, just to get that extra damage in there, or potentially come in from the flanks and the rears, however opportunities might arise. Then on either flank, I do have the Forsaken. Again, these guys are there to push in through any potential gaps and hopefully get into the rear lines and take care of peasant bowmen and any range support that might be there, while the Chaos Warriors with Halberds are sort of spread apart in the flanks as well as in the rear here. Again, just trying to shield the back lines, prevent any cavalry from entering from the sides or from the rear. Of course, I want to be able to shut these guys down, and the Chaos Warriors with Halberds will allow me to do just that. Meanwhile, all the way to the side here, I do have the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth as well as the Chaos Warhounds with Poison. Again, this is in case my opponent decided to be a bit more aggressive. I could send in the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth to intercept and get the Chaos Warhounds with Poison in there as well, just as an extra bit of a surprise. Now, let's take a look at the Bretonnian layout. Again, it's relatively simple outside of a little bit of clever deployment, but while it is in motion, let's try and figure out exactly how they had it laid out. The Peasant Mob sort of formed the front line, and there was a little bit of a gap, but the Peasant Mob were on either flank as well. Again, hoping to, I think, hold the infantry charges from the Warriors of Chaos, you know, sort of take the initial damage and eat some of that early hurt, but overall hold my infantry in place so that the cavalry could come in from the sides. Right behind them, we did have the Men-at-Arms with shields, again, there to hold the line in place. They're a bit more durable than the Peasant Mob, of course, so they're right behind them. And then we had the Mounted Yeoman Archers right behind them as well, again, just to provide that range support, make sure that they're able to shoot off some trickle damage and cause hurt to my warriors as they close the gap. The Grail Reliquae was amidst the infantry, again just to get that leadership bonus and the immunity to psychology in there, while the Spearmen at Arms with their shields were on either flank as well. Again, in case any cavalry or large units came in, or the potential Dragon Ogre Shaggoth came in, these guys would be able to intercept and take care of that incoming threat. The Damsel of the Heavens is in there as well, while back here you can see the Questing Knights and the Grail Knights are back here alongside Alberic and the Paladin. So they're all together as one contingent, while we have this Questing Knight unit in the woods here, completely hidden. And finally, all the way off to the side here, we do have the Mounted Yeoman ranked up to rank 9, tucked away, hiding behind this hill. So I don't actually know these guys exist, and I actually don't even notice them pop into the field when they do later on. Now, let's kick it up to full speed, and you'll see we're just forming up. We're very, very basic movement here, just getting into an engagement formation, you can say. And so we'll just skip ahead a little bit while we push forward towards each other. And again, waiting for me to engage before sending their cavalry out. And I think the hope, again, here was to sort of get a regular engagement over here, and then maybe get an encirclement going on while the cavalry came in from the sides, from the rears, to get some rear charges in and break my Warriors of Chaos's morale across the board. Now you'll notice that as I push my Chaos Sorcerer off to the side there, he's pushing Alberic and his contingent off to this side, so I pull my Chaos Sorcerer back. I'm not going to risk his life over there, but because I can see this commitment of cavalry off to this left flank over here, I actually send 2 units of Chaos Warriors with halberds off to this side again to block off entry from here. And let's slow it down for a quick second. At the same time, I keep this unit of Chaos Warriors with halberds over here because I'm a little nervous about this set of trees here and this set of trees. I'm not sure if something is hiding there or there, so I do want to keep something anti-large over here. I've got the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, but I also want my halberds over here. At the same time, you'll see I decide to get aggression in early on. I want to try and prevent myself from getting bogged down, so I send my Chaos Warhounds with poison in there to take care of this peasant mob. They're really not going to be an issue, so while they're going in, you'll see on this side the mounted yeomen have been revealed. They sort of came over the hill there, and now they're headed down this way, so I need to be very wary of that. So you'll see here the Chaos Warhounds are doing a decent amount of work to the peasant mob. They're going to make very quick work of them, in fact, and I try to thread the needle over here with my Forsaken. On both flanks, I try to put my Forsaken in between the gaps, just to get them into the rear lines and engage those men-at-arms nice and early. And you'll notice the moment the charges go through, they do a lot of damage, very quickly taking care of these guys. And meanwhile, the front line as well, engagement's going down as the peasant mob do get engaged by my aspiring champions over here and the Chaos Warriors over here. I've got these Chaos Warriors following up as well, and now you'll see the Chaos Warriors with halberds are now being pulled off to the side here because I've now noticed the mounted yeomen. I've seen them coming in, so I want to try and shield them. So you'll notice this unit of Chaos Warriors does get pushed around a little bit just to shield the potential entry points. And meanwhile, over here you'll see we've got my Chaos Warriors with halberds pushing into this unit of Grail Knights, trying to hook Alberic in as well as the Paladin in this little engagement over here, while this unit of Chaos Warriors with halberds chasing after the Questing Knights over there. I don't want them to get rear charges. They're very close right now. They could very easily cause a lot of damage. So a little concerned about that. Meanwhile, you'll notice at the front here, the men-at-arms with shields, very easily taken care of. They've already fallen apart. Meanwhile, over here, the Chaos Warhounds are causing, well, they've basically taken care of the peasant mob already, while the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth is going after these mounted yeoman archers. I'm not too concerned about the ranged fire because of scaly skin, so I'm willing to give chase to these guys to prevent these guys from firing into some of my infantry units. Meanwhile, over here, you'll see I do have my Chaos Warriors taking decent care of the Grail Knights as well as the Questing Knights soon as they go in for that charge. And right now in the middle here, we do have Curse of the Midnight Wind going down, reducing my capabilities quite heftily. And so in response, I bring in the Pit of Shades. And I see this little bit of a clump here, and I figure, you know what, might as well take care of the center nice and early. Get rid of these guys. There's another potential target, I suppose, but I wanted to counter the Curse of the Midnight Wind and pop the Pit of Shades over here. And as it does open up, it is an overcast Pit of Shades. It does do a tremendous amount of damage. As you'll see, it starts to cause a severe amount of damage. The peasant mob are already taken care of largely, but look at the men-at-arms with shields. They're almost at full health when the Pit of Shades opens up, and very quickly that health is dropping. It does also hurt some of my Chaos Warriors, unfortunately, but an acceptable sacrifice. I'm sure they're happy to die. I mean, their skulls go to the Skull Throne as well, right? So that Pit of Shades does a lot of work, just helps break the center there. And meanwhile, over here, you'll see the Grail Knights over here have managed to pull away from my Chaos Warriors with halberds, and I can't really give chase. So instead of giving chase, I pull around and I try to get a surround on these Questing Knights over here just to pin them in place and take care of them once and for all. Meanwhile, back here, you'll see the Mounted Yeomen again sort of maneuvering around, and I have my Chaos Warriors with halberds ready to face them and ready to take care of them as soon as the opportunity presents itself. Let's go back to the center here. You'll see, take a look at that. The men-at-arms with shields at half health right now, and the Pit of Shades is still going. The peasant mob obviously routing, and the men-at-arms very close to routing as well. Meanwhile, all the way over here, the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth is being bogged down by Spearmen at Arms with shields, so I do need to get him out of there because I'm obviously not a fan of the Spearmen on my Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. Over here, you'll see the peasant mob do try to dive in and bog my halberds down so that the Questing Knights can get out, but unfortunately, it's too little, too late. The Questing Knights are dropping like flies very quickly. Despite being anti-infantry, my halberds are taking very easy care of them. Over here, you'll see as the Mounted Yeomen, once again, they're sort of pushing away, trying to find another venue or avenue of entry, and so I'm pushing my Chaos Warriors with halberds off to the side as well. I want to try and shield these guys so they're not able to get rear charges because they will do a lot of morale damage, and I have to be careful about that because morale damage will obviously break my lines. At this point as well, on the topic of morale damage, I'm focusing in on the Grail Reliquae, trying to take care of it. I've got Sigvald beating on the poor peasants manning it, and I've also got the Chaos Warriors diving in as well. Over here, meanwhile, you'll see the Questing Knights have completely shattered. They're on their way out, and I now have these halberds taking care of the peasant mob. Off to the right flank, the Spearmen at Arms are being taken care of by the aspiring champions on the Forsaken over here, while you'll notice over here the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth was pulled away from this engagement over here and is now being sent in. Originally it was being sent in to chase after the Mounted Yeoman Archers, but now being sent in to chase some of these routing units just to make sure they are completely finished off. Meanwhile, over here, while that's happening, I do notice that the Mounted Yeomen are closing the gap to my Chaos Sorcerer of Shadows, so I try to pull him in this general direction while pushing my Chaos Warriors with Halberds down this way. Again, just trying to bait the Mounted Yeomen into an engagement with the Chaos Warriors. Meanwhile, over here on the other flank, there's a lot going on in this battle. On this other flank, the Forsaken are now being sent down to shut down the Peasant mob. I don't want to waste the time of my Chaos Warriors with Halberds, so I free one unit up, I send them in towards these more threatening questing knights, while this unit of Halberds sort of pins the Peasant mob in place so that the Forsaken can come and take quick care of them, and then I can free up this left flank ASAP, basically. And well, again, back here, you'll see the Mounted Yeoman giving chase to the Chaos Sorcerer, but as the Halberds close the gap, I think the Mounted Yeoman realize what's going on, and so they actually pull away right away. So good management there, just keeping an eye on that and making sure they run away to safety. Meanwhile, the questing knights were able to take care of my Chaos Warhounds with poison, so that's a little unfortunate, but I will get vengeance, of course. Over here, you'll see as well the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth giving chase to the Mounted Yeoman Archers, once again, just trying to keep them away from the front line so that they're not able to cause hurt to my units. And meanwhile, you'll see the Peasant mob there have shattered, the Forsaken are taking care of them, and these Chaos Warriors with Halberds, once again, free to do as they wish, so I'm able to pull them back in and take care of, well, a fair number of cavalry that's still left on the field for Bretonnia. Meanwhile, you'll see in the middle here, Alberic is trying to charge into Sigvald, I believe, but Sigvald's not going to have any trouble there. He's going to have a good time taking care of Alberic. And again, I think the Bretonnians were expecting Shaggoths and perhaps Codex Suneater. That's why we've got all this anti-large on the field, especially with Alberic himself as well, but unfortunately for them, fortunately for me, I came in with Sigvald and a lot of infantry instead. Dragon Ogre Shaggoth up there still chasing after these Mounted Yeoman Archers while taking shots from the other. Again, not very concerned. Scaly Skin is going to keep me safe, and I just want to keep these guys away from the front lines more or less. And now you'll see here as the Halberds here protect the rear, or I guess the front from the Mounted Yeoman over here, these Halberdiers are able to push in to the Questing Knights. And at this point, I have another Pit of Shades available to me, and I figured this is the juiciest target. Might as well get rid of this unit as quickly as possible. So up goes the Pit of Shades, and it does a decent amount of damage against cavalry as well. So between the Halberds and the Pit of Shades, these guys are pretty quickly being taken care of. Now I've got this unit of Chaos Warriors trying to penetrate through here and chase after the Damsel of Heavens, while I've got my Chaos Warriors with Halberds as well as the Forsaken over here closing in from the left flank. In the middle here, you'll see that Alberic is beating on some of my Chaos Warriors, and I do go chasing after him with Prince Sigvald. The Paladin in there as well also needs to be taken care of, but I'm not too concerned about the Paladin. It's more about getting rid of Alberic. If I can cause a full shatter right now, that'll be the end of the battle, obviously. You'll notice over here, though, the Questing Knights at basically a fifth of their health, maybe less, routing away now, trying to keep safe, but the Pit of Shades and the Halberds, again, making very quick work. I do love the Chaos Warriors with Halberds. They make very quick work of enemy cavalry, and you'll see now I bring the Shaggoth back just to finish some of these guys off as they're in their engagements, and as my Chaos Sorcerer of Shadows is caught in an engagement, I send my Chaos Warriors, again, threading the needle here, getting in there, trying to get a rear charge into these Mounted Yeomen, and they're going to fall apart very quickly. There's not a chance they're going to stand up against these Chaos Warriors with Halberds, and with that, you'll see a mass rout and a close victory for my Warriors of Chaos. My opponent definitely tried some interesting things, especially with his commitment to the hammer and anvil. His army outnumbered mine significantly, and it would have done even better had I gone for a build with 2 Shaggoths and smaller infantry lines, I think. Some airborne units would have been a good idea, and unfortunately, overcommitting to a single flank meant I sent most of my anti-large to the same side, preventing effective cavalry engagements for him. I was able to screen the rear entry points quite well, if I may say so myself, and as a result of that, he never really got a successful rear charge in, and his entire strategy fell apart. As always, for more Total War content, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Total Breakdown and my own online battles will continue on, of course, and as I've mentioned countless times, Total War Warhammer 2 is right around the corner, so there's going to be a lot to talk about there as well. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.